Hello, this is Eric Gustafson, and I just want to do a quick walkthrough of Packet Tracer Assignment 7.4.1. There were some questions about this one. So I've got it open here. You can see that the layout, the topology is already built. It's got 3 routers, 3 switches, a few PCs, internet connectivity, and so forth. Taking a look over here on the right, the addressing table is all set up already. All these devices have addresses. We've got 3 objectives here. Part 1, configure a router as a DHCP server. Part 2, configure a DHCP relay. And Part 3, configure a router as a DHCP client. We've got a little scenario here that basically repeats those objectives. And then we've got some instructions here, so I'll just dive right into those. Part 1 says configure a router as a DHCP server. So step 1. Configure the excluded addresses. So it looks like we want to configure router 2 to exclude the first 10 addresses from the R1 and R3 LANs, and then all other addresses should be available in the DHCP pool. So I've got the instructions typed out in a little document over here on the left. So you can take a look. Router R2 is the one we're starting on, and we're going to of course use the enable function, configure terminal. And then we want to exclude some addresses. So the command is IP DHCP excluded address. And then we're listing out the 10.1 through the 10.10 network. And another command, same command, excluding the 30.1 through 30.10. That's the first 10 addresses in that range. So that takes care of step 1. Step 2, create a DHCP pool on R2 for the R1 LAN. So we need to create a DHCP pool named R1 LAN. It says the pool name must match exactly in order to get credit, so make sure we've got it just right. So it's IP DHCP pool R1 LAN right here. And it says to configure it to include the network address, the default gateway, and the IP address of the DNS server. So that is the next 3 commands here. Network 10.0, and that's a /24. Default router is as listed in the documentation up here, 192.168.10.1. And the DNS server is listed up here as well, 192.168.20.254. So that takes care of step 2. Step 3 says create a DHCP pool on R2 for the R3 LAN. So here let me just highlight the next set here. So it's IP DHCP pool R3-LAN. I got to make sure the name is exactly right. And similar to the commands we used up here, it's just the same ones but with this 30.0 network. So that's the only change there. So that takes care of step 3. So the last step on router 2 is actually down here at the bottom. It says configure the gigabit Ethernet 01 interface on R2 to receive. So that's actually down here. So we're telling it we're going to interface G01 and IP address DHCP. So we're telling it to use DHCP to get an address for this interface. That is that step. So I'll go ahead and plug these in to router 2. Let me just go ahead and launch router 2. Got a command line, and I will paste in those commands and run them. So that takes care of the router 2 configuration. Jumping back here, going up part 2, step 1, configure R1 and R3 as a DHCP relay agent. This is a pretty short set of commands. So for router 1, enable configure terminal interface gig 00, and here we want to use an IP helper address 10.1.1.2. That is we're getting that from up here. These are the serial interfaces. That's the address we want to use for those. Router 3, same thing except it is 10.2.2.2. So I'll go ahead and plug these commands in. This one goes to router 1. Get those commands in there. Router 1 is configured. Router 3, open that one up. grab the router 3 commands. It works well to type out commands in a text editor rather than manually typing them all in, because that way you can paste them all in at once. So again, this is all the commands for router 3. And go ahead and run those. So that is all set. Then the last step here, we need to make sure that DHCP is activated on each PC, so that we just open up each PC, PC1, go to desktop, oops, clicked in the wrong place, go to desktop IP configuration, and we just want to set this to DHCP. All set there, and the same thing on PC2. Go to desktop IP configuration, set it to DHCP. So that completes all the steps. We have created the router as a DHCP server. We've set up DHCP relays, and we have configured the DHCP client. So the last step is to check results and see if we passed. And congratulations, we have successfully completed the assignment, and it shows here all the various things that we have set up. So hope this was helpful. Have a great day. Thanks.